What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports back again with another one. Vasyl Lomachenko, aka the Matrix, last seen in the ring losing decision to Teofimo Lopez. The win by Lopez made him the WBC franchise champion, also the WBA, IBF, and WBO champion. And Vasyl Lomachenko is pretty much went into the background after that fight. Ain't heard too much from Vasyl Lomachenko until yesterday. Got into a Twitter beef with Devin the Dream Haney. Devin the Dream Haney said, "Where's the fuck is Loma?" Loma, 10 hours later, responded and said, "I'm right here, waiting on you cowards to step up and take a real fight." Devin Haney responded after that and said, "Waiting just like you waited to let your hands go versus Teofimo Lopez?" And then Lomachenko came back and said, "Just like you was waiting to fight a real opponent and have yet to fight a real opponent so far in your career." So those guys went back and forth on Twitter. I got to give the edge to Lomachenko. He got the better of that Twitter beef. But the question I'm going to ask on this video is, who is Lomachenko going to fight next? And I'm going to bring up an interesting opponent, a guy that loves the camera, a guy that's been on a lot of boxing news here in the last several weeks, talking about potential big fights that haven't come to fruition thus far, and that is King Ryan Garcia. King Ryan Garcia did an interview on Boxing Social this past weekend. He was in Miami, Florida, watching his stablemate Canelo Alvarez destroy Abner Yildirim to remain the WBA and WBC super middleweight champion. And before that fight, they asked him about who was he looking to fight next, and he said that the Manny Pacquiao fight fell through due to the fact that Pacquiao had problems on his end. He didn't reveal those problems, but I think what I'm hearing is Manny Pacquiao wanted the fight to be an exhibition, and Ryan Garcia said, "No, I want it to be a real fight. I'm gonna be throwing real punches. I want it to be a real fight." And I think that the fact that Ryan Garcia was constantly in the media basically saying the fight is a done deal and he's fighting the legend, and basically on all these shows before the fight was actually done, I think that kind of left a sour taste in the mouth of Manny Pacquiao, and he moved on, man, from that fight. And then another thing I think he was hearing, I think he got a lot of backlash for that fight, saying, "Hey, if you beat Ryan Garcia, man, you beating a guy that's a novice in the boxing game." Who has he beat? He beat Luke Chicken Campbell Soup. He beat him, and that's not that's a solid win. But you got to understand that Campbell Chicken Soup was coming off a loss to Vasyl Lomachenko, so that's a good win. But you're gonna catapult that win into a showdown with the legend, the Filipino icon, Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao, a guy that holds a major did hold a major belt at 147 pounds. So I think that led Manny Pacquiao and his team to look into a different direction, and I'm hearing that they're getting close to getting a fight done in the Middle East with Terrence Bud Crawford. But in the interview, Ryan Garcia mentioned 3 opponents now that the Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao fight fell through. He mentioned a fight with Gervonta Tank Davis. He also said they're in preliminary discussions with Al Haymon. Him and his lawyers in discussions. King Ryan Garcia's lawyer is in discussions with Al Haymon. Preliminary negotiations with Al Haymon for a matchup between Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis. But from what I'm hearing, Gervonta Tank Davis' next fight is not going to be Ryan Garcia. He got on his Twitter, I think this past weekend, maybe yesterday it was, and announced that he's going to have a big announcement on his next fight, and it will be announced in the next couple of days. So if he's got an announcement pretty much in a couple of days, and Ryan Garcia was just saying that they're in preliminary negotiations, that means they're not even in full negotiation, they're in preliminary negotiations just to see if they can possibly come to terms on a fight. That leads me to believe that Gervonta Tank Davis already has a fight lined up for his next fight. And from everything I'm hearing, it's going to be against Mario Barrios, the WBA, the regular WBA junior welterweight champion. I would surmise that fight will take place in the Alamo Dome. That would be the best venue the same venue that Gervonta Tank Davis last fought when he knocked out Leo Santa Cruz. And on that undercard, Mario Barrios beat Texan Ryan Carl, stopped him. So I believe that's going to be the next matchup for him. So that's going to leave Ryan Garcia without a dance partner as far as Gervonta Tank Davis and Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. Now, his next two opponents that he mentioned were very interesting. He said, if I can't get Gervonta Tank Davis, he mentioned Teofimo Lopez or Vasyl Lomachenko. As we know, Teofimo Lopez made headline news this past week, announcing that Triller came up with a $6 million or over $6 million plus purse bid to get the rights to Teofimo Lopez versus George Kambosos, who is the #1 contender in the IBF. He will be putting all his belts on the line against George Kambosos. That fight will take place sometime in the spring. It will headline a card for Triller, and they're looking at Miami as a possible destination for that fight. So that takes Teofimo Lopez out the picture. That leaves Vasyl Lomachenko. Vasyl Lomachenko. And I'm putting 2 and 2 together. Wouldn't be a bit surprised if Ryan Garcia and his lawyer push Golden Boy to make the fight between himself and Vasyl Lomachenko. Since Lomachenko was the guy that he mentioned along with Gervonta Tank Davis, who has another fight lined up, just stated that, and Teofimo Lopez, who you all seen made headlines last week, announced with a fight that he's going to have on Triller with George Kambosos. So that leaves Vasyl Lomachenko, who was being mentioned several weeks ago with a fight against Nakatani, but those talks have cooled here recently. And I'm thinking the reason why those talks have kind of cooled, and his name is kind of cooled on that, maybe Team Lomachenko is not thrilled about fighting a guy like a Nakatani. Maybe the payday is not worth the risk for that particular matchup. But a fight against Ryan Garcia would be a payday that Lomachenko can get, similar to what he got for fighting Teofimo Lopez. So I'm thinking that could be the fight that could be made next, Ryan Garcia versus Vasyl Lomachenko. The only problem I have is with the Golden Boy contract with DAZN. Now, I may be wrong, but I have not seen any of the DAZN fighters go fight on other networks. Look at Virgil Ortiz. He fighting Maurice Hooker, who's with the PBC. That fight is on DAZN. Ryan Garcia, all his fights since he's been with Golden Boy pretty much been on DAZN. So I haven't seen any of his fighters leave DAZN to go fight on ESPN. So if they do make the fight between Ryan Garcia and Vasyl Lomachenko, I would assume Vasyl Lomachenko will go over to DAZN to fight Ryan Garcia. Because like I said, I haven't seen any of the Golden Boy top fighters leave and fight on another network. Now, maybe some of their lower level fighters, I'm sure, have fought on ESPN or probably even fought on the PBC card, but none of their top tier fighters have left DAZN to go fight on another network. So one thing about it, we do have examples of ESPN fighters and top ranked fighters going over there to fight on DAZN. You know, we seen Maurice Hooker again. I mean, not my bad. Jose Ramirez went and fought Maurice Hooker on DAZN. He was affiliated with ESPN and Top Rank. And you've seen a couple of fighters do that. So we'll see if that happens. I seen Eddie Hearn's fighters who have gone to fight on ESPN. Anthony Corolla, he went over there and got dominated and watched by Vasyl Lomachenko. And I've seen other Eddie Hearn fighters go fight on ESPN. So that remains to be seen. They have to work out the details on what that fight will be. Will that be a pay-per-view fight? You know, will they look to put that fight on DAZN pay-per-view, which has done 2 pay-per-views of the last 2 Canelo Alvarez fight. The fight with Callum Smith was on DAZN pay-per-view, and the fight with Abney Uniman was on DAZN pay-per-view. On DAZN pay-per-view. Quiet as kept, those fights was on pay-per-view. Didn't get a lot of publicity, didn't get a lot of notoriety, but those 2 fights were on DAZN pay-per-view. They quietly launched a pay-per-view off that app. People don't want to talk about that. It's basically the same type of thing, but it just gets more access to Canelo Alvarez's base, Latino fans, to go and watch his fights. A lot of them was having a hard time, going on the app and trying to watch it on your phone or going to your laptop to pick the fight up. It makes it easier for the fight to get picked up at sports bars, and you can go watch. You can go order it at home on DAZN pay-per-view. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But that's what I'm hearing. Ryan Garcia and his lawyer, I think, once they find out that Gervonta Tank Davis won't be the next fight, and obviously Teofimo Lopez won't be the next fight, and the third guy he mentioned was Vasyl Lomachenko. Ryan Garcia mentioned that on Boxing Social. I think that's going to be the fight that him and his lawyer are going to push Golden Boy to make. The question is, will Golden Boy want to risk him in a tough fight? You know, people are sleeping on Vasyl after he lost to Teofimo Lopez, but that guy's still an upper-tier fighter. And the guy's very, very solid offensive-minded fighter. He's got a lot of experience, amateur experience, but a lot of professional experience. He has a huge experience advantage over Ryan Garcia. Been in bigger fights, fought tougher opponents, you know, than Ryan Garcia. Will they be looking to put him in there against a guy like a Vasyl Lomachenko? Because Bob Arum, in a recent interview, revealed that he had met with Golden Boy at his house, Oscar De La Hoya and Eric Gomez, and they revealed to him that they wanted Ryan Garcia to take a couple of fights before matching him up with Teofimo Lopez, a couple of so-called interim fights or so-called tune-up fights before he steps up in class and fights with Teofimo Lopez. Now, would they be willing to scratch those plans and put him in there with a Vasyl Lomachenko, who's an upper-tier fight? He's not considered an interim fight or a tune-up fight for anybody. That's a high-level fight, the same as a fight with Teofimo Lopez or same as a fight versus Devin Haney. He's still on that level. He lost a very competitive fight to Teofimo Lopez. So will they be willing to put him in there with a Vasyl Lomachenko? That remains to be seen, but you know, Ryan Garcia seems to have no interest in fighting the only other guy that I can see him fighting, Javier Fortuna, who seems to be left at the altar, stranded without a dance partner, as Devin Haney's gonna fight Jorge Linares next. They seem like they're gonna make that fight for April 17th on the zone. He's a guy that could be put out there, but maybe Ryan Garcia has shown no interest in fighting Javier Fortuna. Again, the names he mentioned was Gervonta Tank Davis. If he couldn't get that fight, he said Teofimo Lopez or Vasyl Lomachenko, and he kind of pissed on Teofimo Lopez's performance against Lomachenko. He basically said Teofimo needs to give him a rematch because he didn't dominate Lomachenko. He didn't knock out Lomachenko. He said Lomachenko was hesitant early in the fight, you know, out of respect for Teofimo Lopez's power. But once Vasyl Lomachenko let his hands go in the second half of that fight, he was piecing up Teofimo Lopez, according to Ryan Garcia. And that Teofimo Lopez shouldn't really be bragging about that win. Shouldn't be out here looking and acting like he the king of the throne when he actually didn't dominate the previous king of the throne in a manner that he would have dominated the king of the throne at that time, that being Vasyl Lomachenko. So he kind of pissed on his performance. So he might be looking to one-up Teofimo Lopez and to get in there with Vasyl Lomachenko and dominate Lomachenko, knock out Lomachenko, and say, look, this is how you defeat a great fighter. This is how you take the throne from the king properly. Look how I do it. I'm going to knock him out. I stopped Lomachenko. I beat him in more impressive fashion than you, Teofimo Lopez. He might, that sounds appealing to Ryan Garcia. That's why he mentioned Vasyl Lomachenko. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. But hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and let me know your thoughts on Ryan Garcia versus Vasyl Lomachenko as a possible matchup that can take place late spring, early summer 2021. Late spring, early summer 2021. Let me know your thoughts on that potential matchup. Fight that could take place more likely on the zone. You know, and they put that fight on the zone pay-per-view, or maybe they work out some kind of deal with ESPN, maybe do ESPN Plus or ESPN pay-per-view. But more than likely, in my opinion, based on the history of the zone fighters with Golden Boy, you know, they pretty much get fighters to come fight on their app, on the zone app. And I think that fight most likely will take place on the zone. And maybe they put it on the zone pay-per-view like they did the last two Canelo Alvarez's fight. Let me know your thoughts and hit the like button if you like the content of this video, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. Holla.